Everyone, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a hidden cause of fertility problems, and that is subclinical Hashimoto's in men. So if you're a couple who's struggling with fertility, I think you're going to find this video today very, very helpful. So fertility problems affect basically 1 in 7 reproductive age couples around the world, but about 40 to 50% of the time, it's the male factors that end up being the problem. Now, you may think, wow, that sounds really high. In this country, or at least the patients that I've seen, the person who really gets focused on is the woman and her fertility factors. But research is showing more and more that it's male fertility factors that really need to be examined as well. So that's why I made this video today, to explain what new research is finding. Now, typically in a male fertility workup, you'll get kind of a routine semen analysis. But what is getting more popularity is something called a sperm DNA fragmentation index. And here's what that is. It's basically a little calculation to measure how much DNA in the sperm sample is broken. And you come up with this thing called a DNA fragmentation index, or a DFI. And that seems to be proven to be more helpful than just a regular routine semen analysis. And what we already know about an elevated DFI, or an elevated index, is that's associated with decreased fertility and pregnancy rates, increased risk for congenital malformations and other childhood diseases, and it's also known to be associated with recurrent miscarriages and miscarriages, which I know that may seem wild to think that a male fertility factor is associated with miscarriages, but it is. Now, there's some information that came out of China recently where they looked at this DFI in men, and they looked at it in its context with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto. So here's what they looked at. They looked at two groups of men. They looked at euthyroid and subclinical hypothyroid. Now, euthyroid means that the TSH is normal, T4, T3 is normal. Subclinical hypothyroid, that gets a little confusing because what that means is that the TSH is elevated, but the T4 and T3 are normal. Now, they also looked for elevated thyroid antibodies in these two groups, right? So Hashimoto's, again, Hashimoto's is an autoimmune thyroid condition, and it's you find it by doing thyroid peroxidase antibodies or thyroid globulin antibodies. And the researchers tested both of these groups. Now, in the euthyroid section, they found roughly about 6% of the euthyroid patients had elevated thyroid antibodies, so they had Hashimoto's. But about 17% of this subclinical hypothyroid group had Hashimoto's. They had the elevated antibodies. So basically what they concluded, and rightfully so, is that what they found is that an elevated sperm DNA fragmentation index is associated with having subclinical Hashimoto's. Now, they didn't really go into explaining why, but here's the whole point. We've already known for a long time that having Hashimoto's can affect fertility and pregnancy. But more and more information is coming out showing that Hashimoto's in men can do the exact same thing. So what should you do with this information? Well, number one, if you are a couple that's having problems with fertility and conceiving, you both need to be checked for Hashimoto's correctly. That's mean doing both your thyroid peroxidase antibodies and your thyroid globulin antibodies. Secondly, if you turn out to have subclinical Hashimoto's as a man, you need to be working with someone that knows what to do about that. Now, the reason I say that is this. Subclinical hypothyroid means your TSH is elevated, right? Usually, if it's from like a 4 to a 6, you might not get treated with levothyroxine. But if it's higher than that, you're probably going to get treated. But beyond that, you have an autoimmune problem. That's what Hashimoto's is. And you don't have to be overtly hypothyroid for this Hashimoto's to be affecting you negatively. So let me explain that again. So there's a spectrum, right? There's euthyroid Hashimoto's, and that means you have the antibodies, but your TSH and T4, T3 are normal. That's all you have to have, okay? That's actually all you have to have. But this particular study was talking about subclinical hypothyroid Hashimoto's. And what that means is you've got the antibodies, the TSH is elevated, but the T4 and T3 are not. Now, the next stage in the progression of the condition is overt hypothyroid, right? Where the TSH is elevated and the T4 and T3 are low, and you've got the antibodies. So you need to get tested, and if you've got subclinical Hashimoto's or even euthyroid Hashimoto's, you need to be working with someone that understands how to deal with your immune system. There's a lot that can be done. I've been seeing patients like this for 20 years. There's a lot you can do. There's certain testing that needs to be done to dissect your immune system to figure out how to bring your immune system back into balance. Because the thing you have to realize is just taking levothyroxine or synthroid or whatever, that really doesn't do anything for the autoimmune problem, right? It may correct the TSH, but you still have an autoimmune problem. So I think both of you need to get tested correctly. And if one of you or both of you shows up with Hashimoto's, you need to be working with someone who knows what to do. What other tests need to be ordered? What kind of diet things can you do? What is going to work in your specific case of Hashimoto's? So if you are struggling with fertility problems, make sure you're both getting checked for Hashimoto's, because there's more and more research that's showing that that is a major player. And I wish you the best of luck. So I'll see you next time.